Everybody, and welcome to Saturday Morning Multifamily Unplugged. I am glad that you're here today, that's for sure. Hey, one thing, you know how I always start my show every week is I talk about intentions, right? What are your intentions? What did you do this morning when you got up? How did you set those intentions? What are you being intentional about getting out of today, getting out of the weekend for you, getting out of your business and your career? Are you living a balanced lifestyle? And are you being intentional about that? You know, I always talk about how in real estate, we can get so far stretched out. We can become, be demanded by our clients. We can be demanded by our deals. And we really tend to lose that balance or that lifestyle balance that we really more so would like to enjoy in our lives. So I always encourage you to do the best you can to create a balanced lifestyle. Be intentional about that. You know, when you get up in the morning and you say, hey, I'm going to make this many sales calls today, or I'm going to get this done, why don't you add to that list of those intentions what you're going to do for yourself personally, for your family, and how you're going to add value to them today and through the weekend. I'm glad that you're here today. If you're new to the show, thanks for being here. I'm glad that you're here. Please go out, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you hang out social media-wise, that's where you'll find us. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love the support, and the YouTube loves the algorithm, right? So glad that you're here. Go tell somebody else. And if you're just waking up, grab a cup of coffee, buckle up, because this is going to be a great ride today. I'm joined this morning by a good friend of mine from Dallas, Texas, from Cabot and Peyton, Darryl Cabot, and we're going to bring him out. We're going to talk about raising capital. We're going to talk about multifamily, about the real estate, and really we're going to talk about the markets, because he said something interesting just before we started the show. So we will talk about that a little bit. I just also mentioned that today's show is brought to you by the GOB Network. And remember that the GOB Network, a multifamily nonprofit organization, has its annual conference coming up in July 13th and 14th this year. Be over 600 people there. So if you are coming to Chicago for that event, make sure you spend a couple extra days. Enjoy the city. The weather's been great here. If you are in the Chicago market, you don't want to miss this event, because there'll be a lot of networking going on. The goal of the event is to do 40 deals those 2 days. So either bring a deal that you want to find partners for, or come prepared to be a partner on another deal. So before we go any further, let's bring our guest in this morning. All right, Darryl, hey, welcome to the show. I'm really glad that we were finally able to get this together and get you on. You know, it's been a long time. We've kind of been exchanging emails back and forth trying to get this scheduled, and we finally did. And I'm grateful for that this morning. So one way I always start my show is in one word. What best describes you personally and professionally?
I'd probably use the word meekness. Would be the word I would use.
Uniqueness?
Meek, like M-E-K, N-E.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Kind of like being humble.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
How I know it, in the Bible, it's, the meek shall inherit the earth, right? So that's kind of where I'm coming from that vantage point. I believe that. So I would say that would be the thing that separates me, or one of the reasons I kind of look in my career, just being meek and humble. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. So obviously, and I would think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would think that over the years, events in your life may have happened that caused you to grasp onto that meekness. I'm curious, what got you to that point?
I would say my mom, who is no longer with us, she actually passed in December 28th, 2016 of cancer. But just kind of growing up in the inner city of Dallas, and who she was. She was a believer, and she was a very humble person. We didn't have a whole lot, and how I kind of felt like people treated her, or us rather, because we didn't have a whole lot to provide materially or financially, and seeing how she moved throughout life, and it wasn't really until the end of her life, and some reflection away, that I felt like she actually, she finished out strong, right?
Yeah.
She never had a whole lot of money, but I would say, how she lived her life, because she's a Christian. She lived her life the way I think God wanted us to live our lives. Right? It didn't amount to a whole lot of money financially, but separate and apart from that. So I attach a lot of that to how I see that, how she moved throughout life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, one thing I always say, that I love my job because every day I get to talk about Jesus. And I'm glad that you really kind of kicked that off early in the show here today. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
So let's talk about your background. How did you get into what you're doing today, and talk a little bit about Cabot and Payton, and what your business is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would probably best consider us a capital advisory firm. We do a lot of private equity stuff. But how I came about it, my career started off here in Dallas. Actually, I was a senior in college. This is back in, I'm dating myself, back in July of 2007. I started working at Fidelity Investments right here up the street in Westlake, Texas. My office is in South Lake, so we're right outside of Dallas, the DFW area.
Yeah.
And I started my career off there as just guy pounding the phones. I was started as a financial rep, and became a full trader. I was there for about 6 years before I was got the axe. And at the moment, it was probably the most embarrassing thing in my career, but actually ended up being the best thing that ever could have possibly happened to me. Because I was there for about 6 years, and I got a chance to compete, and got to see that I could compete with the best of the best, and that was a silver lining. But separate and apart from that, I knew that I couldn't rely on another person or a company to take care of me. So I had to learn at a very early age, and I was still 26, 27. I'm glad I learned that lesson then and not later on. And so, I took I think I had about $50,000 in my name for my 401k account, and I went and I reinvented myself. Started a tax and accounting practice back in October of 2012, and we built that up to a 7-figure tax practice. We probably had about 2,000 tax clients, 5 offices across the DFW, and then I actually started doing some independent consulting and advisory for a company out of Irving called H2 Best, and they basically dealt with mostly the CPA market. And so anyway, I got a chance to kind of learn the entrepreneur side. I already had all my investment license, so I brought those two together, and talked to a lot of CPAs, a lot of smart people, and I realized then that they're good at just one thing, right? And then translate necessarily over to all things. And that was a good lesson to learn, right? Because, we would look at people, or we see people with credentials, and we just kind of blindly trust them. But I knew better, because I talked to tens of thousands of them. And, just because you're good at accounting doesn't mean you're necessarily good at business, okay? No offense to the CPAs out there, but it's just not a true statement. It's actually not true at all. And, right? So there's some that get it. Some are more entrepreneurial than others, but a lot of them are just, really good at accounting. And that's about where it ended, right? It didn't necessarily translate to all things. Many of them really didn't make a whole lot of money.
Right.
And so anyway, taking that knowledge and leaving that space, one of my former colleagues at Fidelity reached out to me, a guy named Michael Potoff, and he was starting up a private equity firm, and he asked me to come join him. So I was like their fourth, partner, and I didn't have the money, not the type of money those guys had, and they said, hey, just come be a sweat equity partner. And that's kind of how I got into the private equity space. So we would just go to these different family office conferences throughout the country, and even had opportunity to travel abroad. In London, we went to a conference there right around 18, like July of 18, which was a great experience. I mean, that's a pretty large financial center in the world. So we went to a family office conference out there. I probably went to about 40 of these over my career. And so over that time, I really things start to normalize. I started to realize that at the end of the day, they're all people. And you have to lead with value. Other than that, they put their things on just like everybody else. So when I got to that point, that's when I actually started getting good, right? I wasn't starstruck anymore. I didn't really care if you was a billionaire or whatever. It didn't matter. It came down to respect, your core beliefs, your values, having integrity. And just as many of the people, that believed or thought that way, those were my type of people. That was my tribe. And if you didn't move in that way, I didn't want to do business with you anyway. So it took away a lot of power from people who, very pretentious or believe that because they're money and they're gods, they think they're better. Well, already my God was, right? So, you didn't have any leverage with me, right? In that sense, it's just we either can do business or we can't. So it took away a lot of power for people who are used to people giving them whatever they want. And I stayed very firm in my principles and my belief. And that's kind of where I say, like, weakness in and of itself is not weakness, it's strength, right? It's just knowing who you are and knowing where you stand and not letting anyone move you from that position. So once so if that's your core intention, shameless plug, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're moving in the right direction, and at that point, things start to slow down for you.
Yeah.
And anyway, I got jumped over a few places, but that's the long and the short of my career and how I got to where I'm at right now.
Yeah, interesting. Hey, you mentioned something at the beginning of the show as we got on that did you see what happened to the markets? They really dropped out. Not to timestamp this too bad, but what happened?
Probably about an hour ago. I mean, the latest market update that was the market was down about 300 points.
Wow.
Which is interesting because my background is economics. That's what I went to school for. I double majored I wasn't going to double major in economics and political science pre-law, so I wanted to go to law school. But I don't like writing, and I didn't figure that out until my senior year. So I ended up getting a minor in political science, and I majored in economics. But anyway, I said that to say I followed, the markets and the economic data and so forth and so on. My read on it is this. So the payroll numbers came out today. And they were, I think like 338,000 more than they anticipated, which they probably thought that was inflationary, and the market was stronger. So basically, maybe the two and two they put together was that the Fed's going to continue raising interest rates, and the market didn't take that, good, right? So that basically means more bleeding, more blood bath, and more capitulation in the market. So if interest rates keep moving up, obviously that makes some money dry up, or it does makes it a lot more expensive to do deals. Cost of capital goes up. Right. That's everything that we're doing, right? Some deals now don't pencil, so it's running some I guess some monkey wrench in some people's as they're penciling out their deals and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so I think we've been talking about this a little bit for the last few months. You knew it was going to start to happen, and it was going to start coming, and I think at this point that we're gonna start to see some effects of some dropouts in the market, and like you said, deals aren't penciling.
Right.
I was listening to somebody yesterday who said that they believe that there's going to be a bunch of deals come back on the market because all of a sudden these operators can't get these loans done, and they're going to. So I think we're going to see a slowdown. I do believe that this correction will be brief, but we're going to definitely see a correction, which will be good, especially if you're an operator looking to buy a deal.
Sure.
And the one thing that's interesting though, pricing might go down, but I don't see rents dropping, right? And rents are still going up. So that's an interesting dynamic in the marketplace, especially in the multifamily space, because it's so dictated by NOI, right? So if rents are going up and you're creating more NOI, you think the value is going to go up as well. But I think because of loans and interest rates, there's going to be that, offset. So any thoughts around that?
No, I couldn't agree more, right? Now I'm not a multifamily guy, right? Most of the deals that we've done across my career has been everything but multifamily. I think you and I have been on the stage and I've shared that with you. So coming out the gate, when I was with PAX, we focused mostly on industrial and senior living. And then when I took off and I did my own thing, we mostly focused, a lot of GSA stuff. Our biggest client builds VA clinics for the Department of Veterans Affairs. We've seen a few hospitality things come across our desk, but we haven't done a whole lot of multifamily. So I do think that's, but I still think it applies. Everything you said as far as like getting any type of commercial deal done. I mean, it still pencils the same way. But, what you say, and these are the other colleagues I know that are in multifamily, and they're pretty much echoing some of the same things that you mentioned. So,
One of the things you've done over your career is you've raised a bunch of capital, and I heard you say that it really became a mindset issue for you to just believe that you were just like everybody else, and to go ask for that capital for what you were doing. I know you've raised some big numbers over the years. So how did you get in? What was your first effort at raising capital? What did that look like? And then how did it transpire from there?
Yeah, so this was first off, I was when I was with Pax Equity. I was a VP of development. So my whole role and responsibilities outside of capital introduction was also bringing on, working in strategic relationships and partnerships with like CPAs, attorneys, people who had access to accredited investors, right, and developing win-wins, right, and incentivizing them to refer business over. So those were my chief responsibilities for about 3 years while I was at PAC. My first foray at it was an actual commercial property. It was a distribution warehouse out in Abilene, Texas. About 720,000 square feet. They were buying it from a REIT, and it was about 80 or so percent occupied. And they really kind of focused on triple net lease and anchor tenants, and also corporately guaranteed tenants. So in this one, you had Coca-Cola, you had Cargill, you had the U.S. Postal Service. There was another little less known company, but it's Alcohol Foods. These were all tenants in this particular building, and so they acquired it. I don't think I actually got anybody in on that one. My one tax client that I tried to get on it, they were accredited investors, but they only had like $50,000 in. They said, hey, this is too small. I mean, it was 250, and I was really just kind of, stuck for me to get one in. But, they still paid me something because it was like, all right, this is just me getting off of that. And then the next one, we was working with a pretty large family office out in Salt Lake. And they basically were doing like an opportunity zone fund for about $300 million. And they had about 200 or so different little operators like us, capital raisers, whatever you want to call it. And that one I did get some action on. My little group that I was managing, we brought about $6.8 million to that one in 30 days through a relationship that we had with a crowdfunding platform. And so that one was good. That was my first win. And then soon after, through a relationship through the family office. So shout out to Richard Wilson. But I met a gentleman. They were a pretty large operator. They had probably a little north of 1,000,000 square feet in industrial. The guy does a lot of JV deals, and they brought one to us, and it made sense. Amazon was the anchor tenant. I got one of my tax clients to put $250,000 in that one. That one felt good. That was December of 2019. And so that was like my first one. I didn't go through some crowdfunding platform. It was actually one of my own clients. So it all kind of started to click for me, right? And that was about 3 years in. It was like September of 2016. So now we're in December of 2019. So not like 3 years. But I think that the long and short, just kind of staying with it. The more iterations, a lot of calls you're on, going to a lot of these different conferences, things just start to slow down, and you just start getting more confident. You start to understand what people are saying, and it was just like, okay, this is not as big of a deal. This is just like when it was at Fidelity, same thing, just bigger numbers. But I had to come to see myself in that, right? I think that's the point. You can see yourself in it. It's like it's not that big of a deal. So it had to get normalized for me. And that's when it all gets like, oh, okay, no biggie, just do it, and that's it. So that's what it looked like for me. That was the process that I went through over those years. Just all mental. It's all in your head,
Yeah, absolutely. It is a head game. So I always tell people that the different ways to raise capital is, private equity. You start with family and friends, then you go up to that outside circle, but then there's family office, and then there's institutions like insurance companies and pension funds and unions. Where do you get your best efforts met in the capital raise? Which one of those arenas?
Well, what we did starting off, we kind of went straight to the family office world, right? But I think also really important was the fact that here's the meekness aspect of it. And I think a lot of people fail, right? Most people want to be the biggest fish in their pond. Mm-hmm. They don't ever want to go into deals if they're not the biggest guy. Have the most leverage, don't have the most control. That's why most people never get out of what I call the Chipman circuit. They want to control the aspect of it. And when you see someone, and there's always someone bigger and badder than you. There's always someone who got more capital. So forth and so on. So it never was a thing, I believe, that no one could play at the level, at the family office level. Most people don't want to because they'll lose control.
Yeah.
Some of the deals that we came, literally, they want a lot of equity. And my mindset at that time was, just get a deal done, right? I'm early in my career. This isn't everything. I think that's also very important. I didn't have what I call that scarcity mindset. I needed this one deal. I needed control. I needed everything I can get out of it because there's not going to be another opportunity. So I got this one. I got to get everything out of this. I never thought like that. I always seemed like, okay, I go out there, even if I have to take a skinny on it, get the deal done, get the experience, learn, and go on to the next deal. So I always kind of approached it from that vantage point. Now, I'm getting somewhere when I say that. When you ask the question that you asked about family office, institutional investors, so forth and so on. We started big. When we worked on this family office group, it was a $1 billion assets under management group. So you got to think about what a small fish in the totem pole.
Yeah.
And we just partnered and tethered off them. Right? But most people won't do that. No, I'm a big shot in my town. I'm going to go and work with this $1 billion. I'm just as good as those guys. And they won't move. They just stay where they're at because they like being in their market, being the big shot, and so forth and so on. Well, we didn't take that approach. We're like, okay, yeah, we understand we're out of position here. But let's add value to this large family office group that's been doing it for 30 years, that got $1 billion. And let's go help raise capital for these guys because family offices do business with other family offices. They do a lot of club deals. And then when a guy calls, that's another family office guy called another, hey, you got this guy raising capital for you? Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Just want to double check and whatever. And they go on and do a deal. You make something off of it, but you got the experience. Now you're valuable to this guy over here that's sitting at $1 billion assets under management. Now they want to do another deal with you. And they want to do another deal with you. You're helping them out. versus, okay, I need to be able to control all the pieces, and I need to do this thing brick by brick. I need to stay in control all the time, every single time. And that's where 95% of the population is at. They just stay right there. They want to be in control of every piece. That meekness comes back. It's okay. You don't have to be the biggest guy on the block. When you're going into the higher, you're going deeper into the ocean, you're not going to be the biggest guy on the block. There's always somebody who's bigger than you. There's always somebody that's smarter than you. There's always somebody that got more capital than you. Right. But go in there and structure a deal to where you can get something out of the deal. Get the experience, but most people they don't see it that way. They're like, nah, I don't do it that way. Okay, that's you, right? But I did it that way, and I kind of receded from that to some extent, right? So maybe it sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my neck, but that's how I started. And now the group that I left, they're still on that level, right? When I left them, I actually wanted to do it a little bit smaller. So I think sometimes you gotta play. And anything is tactical and strategic, right? You gotta know where you're at, and you gotta be true to yourself, right? But they kept playing at that level, and that's what I'm now themselves. I'm no longer there. I mean, I talked to them in September. They took about $250 million allocation from the teacher retirement system, right? So that's giving more institution than pension fund, but so I'm not. I left. I'm not at that level, but I mean, I was playing at that level with that group, and those were the experiences that I had, and that's what we were doing. We went straight to the top, man, playing with the big dogs, So
what advice would you give somebody today who was looking to get into the space to raise money and to go right into the family office space?
Well, I think it's safe to say, you really want to be able to play position on every side of the field. And it's really all about, one of my mentors used to say, Darryl, everyone's always trying to hit a home run. Yeah. But the key in life and business is to be the master of the RBIs. The steady eddies. You got to stay in business until you build a business. So my advice to anyone is do good business, under promise, over deliver. Look where they can add value. Don't fake it till you make it. If you need help, ask. And then everything is just a moment in time, right? Even if you go work with another group and your ultimate end game is to be this big time operator and you just can't see yourself working for somebody else or going out there raising capital for another group, it's just a moment in time. Get the skills you need to get, learn them, and then you move on.
Yeah.
When it's time to move on. Right. So that would be my advice for people getting started. It's just, hey, you gotta earn your stripes. No one's just gonna shoot straight to the top. The people who try to do that, a lot of times people end up in jail. Right? You've got to, pay your stripes and put the work in, and just stick with it. Don't quit.
I always say it's, just talking to one person at a time, right? Having one conversation after another. You have to act like a farmer, you plant a seed, water it, and at some point you'll harvest it. And it's that consistency of doing that over and over again that actually helps you, reap the rewards down the road. Do you spend any time in the institutional space, or is it all family office still?
I mean, that's mostly. I make a commitment to go to this family office again like once a month. I mean, that's where I committed. FamilyOffices.com. And I don't get paid by Richard Wilson or anybody like that. But that's just kind of where I started that, and that's just kind of where I there's institutional guys in there as well. So I mean, it just depends. I mean, the one deal that we did with the largest client was with an institutional investor. They came in and did a commitment for $247 million. That's the largest deal that I ever done that I put together, and that was an institutional investor. So it just really depends, right? I'm opportunistic and I'm just having fun with it, man. I don't think I just have some really go strategy. It's just if it pencils, it makes sense, and I like the people involved, I'll do the deal, right? Yeah. So that's just kind of my guide in life. It's a feel thing for me. I'm not sitting with charts and graphs and have it all mapped out, with freaking long equations and okay, well, this is the optimal. That's not. I don't think anyone really does. I think that people say they do it that way, but I don't think that's how.
Yeah.
I'm a C student, man. So I just go with my gut, and it's a feel thing. If I think you're a good person, I think your heart's in the right place. I pray on it, and I just kind of go with that. That's kind of how I'm. It's more about intuition more so than anything.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that those are really good points. How you kind of bring that home. Hey, listen, I always like to wind things up, kind of asking 3 bonus questions. Okay. So I always tell people buckle up a little bit. Okay. So, hey, what's the best book you've ever read? And I know you've already alluded to the Bible, but let's
go beyond. So many. I'm in my office right now. That's a look at my library.
Yeah.
I got over 1,000 books, but just for the sake of saying something, right? Because there's just so many. This really depends on what mood I'm in. I like Alien 4 by John C. Maxwell. I think that's a really good one. Have you read that one?
I haven't read it, but you're the second person, like in the last couple of weeks, that's mentioned that book, and I love Maxwell. I've read a lot of his stuff, so.
Yeah, that was a good one. John C. Maxwell, Darryl. If you haven't read it, that's definitely one you want to put on your list.
Nice. Best tourist attraction
in Dallas?
Anywhere.
Oh, well, I'm gonna just go with Dallas because I'm here. I really like the over there by the grassy knoll. I went to the 5th or 6th floor museum where John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I want to be morbid, but I always thought that was a pretty cool place. And when I was coming up, I was born in '84, but I think it was like '91, '92. The movie Oliver Stone did JFK, and I was just fascinated by that movie. I probably watched it 20 times.
Yeah.
Who shot him, right? And so I think that's a pretty good attraction. If you've never been, definitely check that one out.
Yeah, that was one of those serious pieces of history, right? And I've been there, and I think that's a pretty cool monument, and that whole piece that they have there is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
How about restaurant?
Well, I'm not a foodie, man, so at all. I'll eat a McDonald's hamburger, right? So you don't want to take my advice, but I'll just, for the sake of just throwing something out there, I would say, in Roanoke, where I actually live, they call it the unique dining experience of the capital of Texas. I think that was self-proclaimed. I don't know how they got that title, but I like heartache, and for the barbecue connoisseurs, please don't come for me. But heartache, if you ever come to Dallas, heartache's pretty good. I love their brisket. So there you go, barbecue. I'm a Texan, so.
Yeah, nice.
These are easy. Give me a curveball.
Yeah, those. Yeah, listen, some people they say, "Well, what?" So you field it well. So good job. Hey, listen, how do people get a hold of you, Darryl, if they want to connect?
Probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is going to be just email me or my assistant. My email is Darryl, DARYL @cabotpainting.com. That's probably going to be the best way. Send me an email, and I'll make sure Darryl will get back to you if I'm scheduled and I'll get some more calendars.
Awesome, and we got that scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So, Darryl, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate your insight, your knowledge, and taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us this morning. So I'm going to move you out to move you back into the green room. And I'm going to say goodbye, and then
awesome.
Hang out with you.
Mike, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. I've been looking forward. It's been about 6-7 months to make this happen. So definitely excited and happy that I was able to connect. So we were able to connect. So thanks for the time.
Thanks, Darryl. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hey everybody, that was our interview with Darryl Cavett from Cavett Payton in Dallas, Texas. And if you are interested in raising private capital at any level, definitely listen to this a couple of times. He had some great insights and some great knowledge about strategy and mindset. And in so much in what we do, it's mindset. And that's what we talk about over and over again. I want to thank you for being here today. I want to challenge you. Remember to be intentional about your day. Be intentional about what you do and bless the people around you. If you have questions or I can do anything for you, don't hesitate to